Hey everybody, DJ Chance here. Now in this week's episode, I'm going to be reviewing and doing a tutorial on the Numark PartyMix. I've gotten quite a few requests to do this piece in comment sections of other videos. So we're going to get right to... What? Hey, Drogo, what are you doing? We talked about this. This is my show. You can't be here right now. I know you're in the new Apple TV episode where you're blind. That's probably why you can't see what you're screwing up right now. So, it's my show. Okay, sure. That's not weird at all. So let's get right into it. You're killing me here.
You should have just stayed 6 feet away, but no!
Alright, we're going to begin with the mixer section of the Numark PartyMix. The first thing to notice, you have a bass and treble knob.
Rocking over that bass treble.
That's something you didn't have on the Numark DJ-808 or the Numark DJ-808 Touch. You had no ability to adjust your tonality before on your tracks. What you heard is pretty much what you got. In the Serato software, you're actually able to adjust the amount of EQ boost that you have for your bass and your treble. You can go all the way up to 12 decibels of bass, 12 decibels of treble, or 6 decibels. I have it set at 6 decibels. I don't think you need 12 decibels of adjustment.
Does it have to be so loud?
I can't hear a word you're saying. My ears are ringing so bad.
Especially if you have various DJs on the equipment. Not every DJ knows how to make the proper adjustments for bass and treble, and they may boost it too much and distort the hell out of a speaker. Maybe even blow them. The other thing of note that you'll see here is that I'm also using an up fader, and that's another addition that's greatly welcomed on this controller. And for the $20 extra over, say, a Numark DJ-808 and the Numark DJ-808 Touch, they're very welcome features. You've also got this programmable Lite show, and I'll get to that in a moment on how you can program it in the software and internally on the hardware. Now, the up faders are nothing of note. Even the tension of it is about average for the segment and for the price point. There's nothing really mind-blowing about it. But it's a good length. They've given you a good throw here, so it's not a very short fader. So you've got quite a bit to play with here, and if you've been on a larger controller, you'll be used to it. Or you'll get used to having a longer up fader for when you graduate to the bigger controllers. In the Serato DJ software, you can adjust the curve of your up fader as well as your cross fader. Now I have both set to their fastest setting right now. I do more cuts and scratches than long mixing, but if you're someone who does longer mixing and you want to adjust it into a slower curve for the crossfader or slower curve for the up faders, you have the ability to do that. You just can't do it on the PartyMix.
I just did it and I'm ready to do it again. Don't tell me you don't do it.
So you have to do it in the Serato software itself. There's no way to adjust it here. So let me give you a listen to what the up fader sounds like in the fastest setting. And you'll get the same sound effect with the crossfader itself. You'll notice that the unit's kind of moving all over the place when I'm moving the fader. Keep in mind that this thing only weighs 1 3/4 pounds. So we've got physics at work.
What is physics?
You know, you're applying all that force, this thing is going to move. That's the reason I have it on top of this piece of foam, because on the table itself, it slides all over the place. That's something you should be aware of. So here's the crossfader's fast cut. Also of note, I have my crossfader in hamster mode, so if you're looking at it like, why don't I hear this deck when the fader's all the way here? I have my crossfader set backwards. I've always had it that way, even before it was called hamster mode. Alright, we're going to start off with it all the way in the closed position. So let me play this track and you'll see just how far you've kind of got to move in order to hear your track. I'm going to pull the knob of it off. This way you can see exactly how far you've got to go. There it is all the way closed, right where the white line is. and not the Melly Mel version or the Hollywood version. Slowly move it across. You've probably got a 1/16 of an inch that it moves, so it's fairly close, but you're probably not going to get away with doing your crabs and orbits and Autobahn scratches. You'll be able to do baby scratch, Joe Coolies. Maybe you can get to do a slow one-click flare. However, these wheels are not good for scratching. The wheels are very, very light plastic. They can spin for a hell of a long time if you're doing a spin forward or a spin back. Let me give you a listen to what that sounds like. I can really probably get it go all the way back to the beginning of this song. Yep, it's actually at negative 2.4. So this wheel is ridiculously light. One thing I do like with the wheel is the design of it looks nice. They've done a good job with making it look like an actual record. They've given you good grooves here, which you can hear. What that is supposed to do is give you good friction. So if you're trying to scratch, your finger's not sliding all over the place as it would as, say, on the Numark DJ-808 touch capacitive wheels. I have a review for this as well, and I'll put the link in the description below. So this way you can see what having a touch capacitive wheel is like and its advantages and disadvantages. The scratch feature on here isn't all that great. Now they've given you a button to turn it on and off. So unfortunately, you've got to take it off of scratch mode if you're trying to do a longer mix. This way you can do your nudging. You can see even with slight nudges, the wheel moves quite a bit. You get a couple inches of play there. And that's a disadvantage because most controllers give you the ability to nudge with the side of the wheel. So I do like that they put the little ridges on top to give you the friction. I even like that they put this little separation here at the end of the record portion before it hits the 45 RPM adapter. Some of you may not be old enough to even know what this is. And for those of you that don't know, that's exactly what this is. It's not a logo. This is a 45 RPM record adapter. The other thing I like with the raised 45 RPM adapter portion is that it gives you a good feel in the dark of where your finger is going. It's raised up higher on the wheel than the ridges are. So this way, if your finger does move for whatever reason, you'll know exactly where to stop because you'll feel that in the dark, or maybe you're not paying attention. You'll know you've wandered too far and you've got to kind of move your finger back. But I don't think that's going to happen with all of the friction that the top of this wheel has. When you're trying to scratch on this, you end up losing your scratch even while your finger is on the platter. It thinks that you let go, and it behaves that way. So if you're in the middle of a scratch, you've got to be sure to do your scratch and end it with your fader closed, because if you do your scratch and you keep your finger on top thinking that the song is going to stop because you're pressing on the platter, that's a huge mistake. It's going to keep playing, and let me give you a listen to what that does. And you see right there, I'm still pressing down on it. I can press down with every finger and it's not going nowhere. However, if I move the finger, you'll get back into scratch action. Now, nudging while it's in scratch mode is almost impossible. And if you are able to do it, please put a comment in the description below so I can see your video of doing it. So this way I can learn how to do it, because I haven't been able to figure out how you nudge in scratch mode with this thing. Let me give you a listen. You see, they've given you the entire platter scratch capability, even the edge. Next, we're going to go over the pad mode section here. What's good about this pad mode section versus the older Numark DJ-808 is they've actually given each deck a pad mode button. The DJ-808 and the DJ-808 Touch, they only had one pad mode button for both decks. Now you've got the ability to use one for either deck. This way you're not relegated to using the same effect for both turntables at the same time, because if you're trying to do something with one, it's also doing it on the other, and that was a stupid little hiccup that was there. The orange pads here, your different performance pads, and they're all lit up in a nice orange, which is good to see in a darker environment. They didn't light up the actual pad mode selector button. And I'm assuming they did that because they already had a million of these buttons from the old controllers, the sync and cue. They're already that size. You can see it's the same button. All they did was change the artwork on it. They used the same exact one. And that's not unlike the new 2020 Toyota Supra. That's all BMW parts. That's a whole nother thing. And they've given you the 4 little squares there, or it can be a flag of some country. So right now we have it in cue mode, and that's whatever cue points that you've already set on your songs previously. You can do it on the fly. However, you cannot delete your cues from the hardware. You have to do it in the software. You have to go into your screen and actually delete it. There's no shift on the controller for you to be able to eliminate one of your set cue points, even the ones you've done on the fly. So whatever I have here when I get to my gig is there unless I go into the screen. Here's how the cue pad would work. So you've got the ability to go jump around your song if you didn't know what the cue pads were before. It's good to be able to drum your cues. You can do the snare, whatever you want to do. You can have a lot of fun with it. Let your creativity run wild. When you depress the button again, you'll go into loop mode. With the loop mode in the controller, you can only do 1-beat loop, 2-beat loop, 4-beat loop, and an 8-beat loop. You can go all the way down to a 16th of a beat, all the way up to a 32-beat loop. You can't do that here, and you can't adjust it in the software to do the same thing on the pad here. And it keeps pretty good time with it. I have to say it, for being a small controller, it actually does a good job of staying in rhythm. They put another track on here. And we'll go into loop mode. Here's your 4-beat. And you can see it keeps perfect time here. We're getting right to the end, and it'll hit now. So it does a good job of keeping time. I was actually surprised by that because sometimes some little controllers get slightly off. And this is with me not having the beat grid set. I don't set beat grids. I find that the beat grids are slightly off on pretty much most of my collection, unless it was something I digitally downloaded from a record pool. I'd say 75% of my collection is from my actual records from the 30 plus years of me DJing. So because vinyl has wow and flutter and the head shell moves slightly in the needle, you don't get an actual precise actual movement. The other thing with a 12-inch record is that it will take any of the scratch sounds or cue burns. It may actually show that in the software as the beginning of your beat, even though it's the eggs and bacon frying noise. The next thing we have is the ability to go into your sample mode. The same thing as with the cue, you can't adjust what it is on the fly on the hardware. You've got to do it in the software. So you would do whatever samples you have, you know, your shout outs, maybe your drops, and you can just hit that there. If you notice there, when I raised the volume of the track, the volume of my sample got diminished.
I will diminish.
Because you can't adjust the volume of the sample on the hardware itself either. You have to do it in the software. So you pretty much have to do that at your gig before you get there. This way, when you drop your sample, it can be heard or it won't be overpowering to the track. So right now, it's just stuck where it is. Now you couldn't even hear my 3-1. It's so low in comparison to the track, I'd have to raise it. The next useful mode that we actually have is the effect mode. When all 3 buttons are lit up, you are now in effect mode like the I'll Be Sure album. Now the effects work to whatever effect you have set in your software. Like right at the moment, I've got an epic reverb for 3, I have my delay, and I have a flanger at 1. Chance, you virtuoso of all things DJ, I hear you say, what does the 4 button do? When in effect mode, you can actually adjust the beat of your effect. If you want to double the length of your effect, you would do that with the 4 button. And you can go all the way to 8 beats, all the way down to a 16th of a beat, and it would sound something like this. So there's your 16th of a beat for a delay. The other thing to note is when you're doing the effects, your effect only works as long as you're holding the button. Once you let go of the button, it's going to be like your last relationship. It's just going to crash into a wall and end. So I'm going to adjust this with the 4 back to my 1 beat. So there it goes. Sounds good there. Faded out nice. The delay is exactly what I wanted. Here's what it sounds like when you do it and let go quickly.
We are so over.
Fine by me!
So that's something to be aware of. You're going to have to pretend like you're DJing with like a third hand if you want to, say, delay out one of your tracks while you're mixing in the next track. You're going to have to kind of, use this one hand as 2 hands. Move your fader over while you're moving the wheel or whatever it is you're doing, Move it over as you're nudging your next track. Another great addition to the mixer section of the Party Mix is the addition of this Headphone Cue mix knob. This is fantastic because on the older units, you had no way to listen to your post-fader mix. You can only hear what you could hear in the headphone pre-fader. If you wanted to hear both at the same time, you had to press both headphones at the same time or keep one on and actually hear what's going out live into your speakers, to your audience. And that's a handy feature to have because, again, this is something you're going to have on bigger controllers. It's good to get used to the extra features. This way, when you graduate to a bigger, more expensive controller, you're not thrown off by all the extra things. You've had some practice with something like this. If you have one side of your headphones off of your ear, what you'll hear in the headphone pre-mix, it's going to be slightly off, and you'll notice it when you start to move into your program section. When you have your pre-mix and post-mix, you can actually get your mix in there perfectly going out to your audience. All right, now we're going to get into the portion of this controller that makes it stand out from a lot of the other controllers, and this is what I've been asked about a lot, is the lights on this. Numark actually calls these the party balls, which to me is just hysterical in itself for a whole bunch of other reasons.
Great, right? I had 2 party balls implanted in my chest. 1 light beer, 1 regular. Coming at ya!
Right now, the lights are actually in the internal program mode in the Serato software. You have a drop-down menu in Serato that gives you 3 different programs. So right now, it's on program 1, and you see it goes to the music. If I shut the deck off, you'll see the lights stop. But it's very responsive. Even if you do a spin back, you'll see the lights will go with that as well. So that's a cool feature to have. They're not all that bright. You're not going to light up more than just a bedroom or a studio apartment. Maybe a smaller living room. Static moonflower effect going on. And that wall is about 12 feet away. Now I'll put it in program 2. It's more of a quick on and off. Now I'll switch it to program 3. It's more of a dimming effect there. If you haven't really done any live parties, that can kind of get you in the mood mentally. You turn the lights down and have that on, and you can get a feel for what it's like to be playing in a dark area with lights flickering all over the place. You'll see in the back you have the button there for controlling your lights. So I'll press in the button. And you press the button in again. You get another effect. And now you get kind of an all-on mode. And this particular mode, it'll stay on if the track is playing or not. And you press it once more and you're in off mode. When you press it the next time, it is now in the program mode in the Serato DJ software. And here I want to show you what the beams look like if you have haze in the room or you have some fog. You can get more of a feel of what it would look like. You only have RCA outs, which is to be expected at this price point in this segment of controller class. Your output is only a 35mm or 1/8 inch headphone jack. You don't have a 1/4 inch headphone jack here. Here's something I find really weird with this controller is that they attached the actual USB cable to the unit. It's not removable. They've given a good strain relief, but as anyone knows with these kind of cables, especially if you have any type of mobile device, these cables tend to fray.
You're right.
No matter how you reinforce them. What's going to end up happening is when that cable frays, this entire controller is just garbage. It's just going to be a giant paperweight. Why did they do this? I don't know. Another thing that you'll notice on the controller is that there aren't any numbers for any of the knobs. The knobs just have the little artwork that's around them. You don't have any of the numbers, just like the pitch control has no numbers. The only numbers you get are your deck here and your brows and the numbers up here and your pads. Now these are the weird little details that only someone like me is going to notice. Now the smaller Numark DJ-808 controllers, and it's just both of them by the way, whether it's the touch or the first generation, require 1 amp of power. The bigger Numark PartyMix with its Lite show only requires half an amp. Now I'm not sure how that even works. Why does the bigger controller with more stuff require less power? Don't know. Another thing I find strange is that the bottom of the Numark PartyMix is plain. You just get the sticker. On the DJ-808s, they made sure that their branding is not only there, but huge. So the smaller controllers need more power and have better logo placement than the bigger, more expensive PartyMix. But hey, at least on the bigger one, you end up with 12 screws versus the 8 that's on the DJ-808s. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Numark PartyMix DJ controller for Serato DJ Pro. Hit the like and subscribe button if you found this video useful. Leave a comment in the comments section below if there's anything you feel that I missed, or even to give me ideas for future reviews. Please punch that notification bell so you can be notified when I do new reviews and videos each and every week. I appreciate all the support and positivity you guys have given to my channel. I'd like to support my channel even more. My Patreon link is down below. I don't know how much longer I have, but if this be the last video that you see of me, remember me kindly, remember my words of wisdom, and remember, go out there, master, and make money.